right, everybody. Well, let's get started. Happy Monday, everyone. I'm Gabby, one of your Monday meeting directors.
Hi, everyone. My name is Justin, and we are so excited to have professionals today from HCVT to talk with y'all.
Yes, before we get started, we do have some announcements to run through. Tomorrow, March 9th, Goldman Sachs will present on being more proactive with career planning and recruiting from 5 to 6 p.m. Wednesday, March 10th, Kongresnik will be presenting on developing leadership skills from 12 to 1, so don't miss out. Don't forget to fill out your apparel form. It was sent out via the newsletter. And if you've missed any of our meetings and would like to watch them, please check out our YouTube page. You'll find them there along with our spring semester podcasts.
Today, we have Megan and professionals from HCVT presenting on remote work tips.
And don't forget, we encourage everyone to have their cameras on, and please wait until the end to ask any questions. So without further ado, Megan, please take it away.
Awesome. Thank you, Gabby. Thank you, Justin, for that beautiful introduction. And hello, everyone. Happy International Women's Day to you all on this Monday. We are very excited to be here to be talking about remote work tips. But before we jump into our presentation, we do want to direct you over to the chat. We're going to be using our chat throughout the presentation, so please head on over there. We're coming up on 12 months of being in quarantine, so we would love to hear from you guys. Who's your quarantine? Who's been getting you through this crazy year that we've had? For me, it's been my fiance, who has been really great, kept me very entertained over the past year. I'm very grateful for him. And we've gone on lots of walks, explored the neighborhood a little bit more. So that has been good. Oh, Mark is saying, me, myself, and I. Mark, that's great. Hopefully you had some time for some inward reflection there. Oh, Brianna's pets have kept her sane. That's awesome. I wonder if they're new pets, maybe quarantine pets, maybe not. Siblings and parents are your quarantine. Awesome, Justin. Family, yeah, family. I've spent a lot of time with my family this year, more than usual, I can definitely say. Well, thank you guys. Thanks for popping that info into the chat. I appreciate it. And just to confirm, can you see my screen, John? Yeah. Okay, perfect. Awesome. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. Okay, so we are going to start with some introductions. So up first, I want to say hello, everyone. My name is Megan O'Donnell. I'm a campus recruiter here at HCVT. And I actually joined the firm back in the spring. So I had a bit of a unique start in that I interviewed in person, but I started virtually and have been working virtually since my start date. So a little bit unexpected, but overall it has gone much smoother than I could have imagined. So very grateful for that. And once we get back to the office, I'll sit in our West LA office. Quick fun fact about me is I am actually from the East Coast. I grew up in Massachusetts, but because I moved out to LA, I have driven cross country 3 times. So if you ever get the chance to do it, highly recommend it. But that's just a little fun fact. And I am going to send it over to Lance.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lance. I graduated from CSUN in December of 19. I started with the firm the very end of last January. So kind of like Megan, I've spent most of my time working from home. I was in the office for about a month and a half before we switched. But yeah, the majority of my time with HCVT has been working from my house. And fun fact about me, I'm originally from the Midwest. I was born and raised in Indiana, and also like Megan, I've driven across the country, east and west and north and south, I think 7 times now. And I highly recommend road trips. They're very fun.
Hi, everyone. My name is David Ahn. I'm a tax advance staff at the Encino office. I've been with HCVT a little over 3 years. I did not go to CSUN, but I went to Penn State University. Unlike Lance and Megan, I've never gone across the United States 3 times or North and West or what have you. But that is definitely on my bucket list. I do plan on doing that for sure. I guess a fun fact about me is I haven't done it in a while, but I used to be able to lick my elbow. And don't ask me if, to try for you guys right now, because that's not going to happen. So.
Hello, everyone. I'm John Burkett. I am, I guess, the veteran of the group here today. I've been with the firm 5 years. I started in the Pasadena office as a tax admin, and now I sit in Long Beach, and I'm part of the recruiting and training team. Well, I should take that back. I sit in the Inglewood Stadium. That's where I grew up. But when we get back to the office, I will be in Long Beach. And a fun fact about me is I actually studied Taekwondo for 4 years back in high school, and I did reach my black belt. So that's always been fun, something that centers me. As far as cross-country road trips, something on my bucket list is to visit every NBA home stadium. And so far I've been to 7. So looking forward to getting back to that once our nation opens up.
Awesome. Thank you guys for those introductions. Hopefully we all have some more road trips in our future, potentially, with the summer quickly coming up, or spring break coming up for you CSUN students. So who knows, maybe you're hitting the road. Okay, so before we jump into our presentation today about remote work tips, we do want to talk to you a little bit about our firm, HCVT, and why we are such a great place to work. So up first, we were founded back in 1991. So because we're a little bit on the younger side of some of our competitors, we're known for having a pretty forward-thinking and innovative culture. As for numbers, we have about 700 employees that work at HCVT. That includes 60 of our partners. And one great thing about working at HCVT is that you do have accessible and approachable upper management. Our partners and managers have an open door policy, so you'll be able to be interacting with them essentially right when you get your foot in the door. Our partners know your names, they know if you went on vacation, all of that good stuff. So there are a lot of opportunities for mentorship in that space. And then as for revenue, we do have an annual revenue of over $150 million across all of our offices, which brings me to our offices. So we have 12 offices. Mainly in Southern California. We do have 8 Southern California offices. John is going to be dropping a few fun facts into the chat, so be sure to keep an eye over there. But a couple of offices that are close to our CSUN students typically are Westlake Village, Encino, Pasadena, West LA. We also have an office in Camarillo. As for our out-of-state offices, we have one in Park City, Utah, also Phoenix, Arizona, and Fort Worth, Texas. So there are a couple of out-of-state offices as well. And as for industries, we work with a variety of different clients, some really big, well-known clients that you would definitely be familiar with. Unfortunately, we can't share their names due to confidentiality, but we work with all different types of industries, everything from private equity to high net worth individuals, media technology, affordable housing, you name it, we probably have a client in that space. So you will be able to be exposed to a variety of different types of clients. And as for my favorite slide that I get to talk about is culture and benefits. So up first, I do want to plug our overtime. HCVT does pay overtime for our professionals. I'm sure you guys are all familiar with sort of the nature of what it's like to work in public accounting. There are some busy seasons, which our professionals are finding themselves in right now. So essentially anything that you work over 40 hours a week, you will be reimbursed time and a half for all of that time that you work. So at the end of busy season, hopefully you'll be able to, treat yourself to a trip to the spa or maybe a vacation or something like that. We also have casual dress. We have busy season catered meals and snacks and drinks in the office. I was really jazzed about HCVT paying for parking. A lot of other firms don't do that for their professionals. So that was something that really jumped out at me when I was doing my research. There's tons of opportunities for career growth as well as training. John can talk about how awesome the training team is because he also works pretty closely with them as well. So I can't talk enough about how great the training opportunities are. They're really fun, really interactive. And honestly, I always look forward to going to our trainings at the firm. So can't talk enough about that. And then I do also want to talk a little bit about our firm initiative. So up first, we're going to talk about our Community Service Committee. So Community Service Committee is tasked with putting together opportunities for our professionals to go out into the community and give back. Sort of their big event that they have each year. It's called Getting Out for Good. It takes place in November. During that time, our professionals go out, take a business day, a day they would have typically gone to the office, and they go out into the community and partner with one of the organizations that we work with, everything from animal welfare to LGBT resource centers, environmental agencies, children's hospitals, you name it. We work with a variety of different types of organizations. So if there's a cause that's important to you, you'll probably be able to give back to some people or some things like in that space. And then our Women's Initiative, which feels very fitting because it is International Women's Day. We do have this group that essentially is open to anyone at HCVT. You are welcome to join once you join the firm. And it's essentially tasked with creating opportunities for our females throughout the firm to get to know one another, you know, network in a more informal setting. So regardless of your service line, your title, or your office. So cool events that they put on throughout the year. We do have a biannual women's conference. We also have mocktail mixers and self-defense classes. I recently was at a virtual networking training that was led by our women at HCVT group. And also our women at HCVT group are currently putting on our meditation Mondays and yoga Thursdays that we're having for busy season as well, which is keeping all of our professionals very sane. So we're grateful for that. And then last but not least, our Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Committee. So this is actually our newest committee. It was founded back in the beginning of the summer, sort of with the Black Lives Matter movement. And they have been super busy sort of since the start of that. Essentially, they started off by putting together an implicit-wide mandatory training or implicit bias training that was mandatory wide for the firm, which is really interesting, really thought-provoking. So really grateful to have the opportunity to be a part of that. They also have recently signed the CEO and Action Pledge. Philip Holthouse, our managing partner, signed this petition that essentially says that he, along with 1,200 other CEOs and presidents across the nation, are dedicated to providing a more diverse and inclusive workplace. So we're really excited about that. And they have a lot of things sort of in the pipeline that they're working on for the future as well. So that was a little bit about our firm initiatives, but I'm going to turn it over to David, who's going to talk to us a little bit about remote work tips.
Thanks, Megan. So as we've transitioned into working and going to school from the comfort of our homes to prevent the spread of COVID-19, it's never been more important to ensure that we're working efficiently and effectively from this new environment. So we've put together a list of tips to ensure you're preparing yourself to success and settle in to your remote work lifestyle from the time being. Okay, so here we have, our different types of learners. So we have your visual learner, your listeners, your kinesthetic learners. If you're a visual learner, you do best by taking detailed notes rather than getting involved in discussions. So you really like illustrations and presentations. And I know for myself, I'm a visual learner in a sense where I kind of like to read, and it kind of puts context to where it helps me present images for the words that I'm reading. And it just makes me visualize really what it is that I'm reading, and it helps me comprehend everything better that way. But if you're a listener, you enjoy discussions and talking things through. You acquire knowledge by reading aloud. And we have kinesthetic learners, and kinesthetic learners learn through activities and being hands-on. So they remember what was done, but sometimes have a difficulty with what was said or seen. So I guess, John, do you want to go ahead and give out a polling question for what type of learner everyone is?
Well, we definitely want to hear from everyone. So it's going to be in the chat. What type of learner, or what's your learning style, right? I just kind of jokingly said Lance looks like a kinesthetic learner. Not sure, Lance, you can say if I'm wrong. Megan looks like a visual learner personally. I don't know, just my 2 cents. I'm definitely I know I commend everyone who's been doing everything virtually, because I learn best by listening. So I'm always like the kid that sits in the front of the class and I have to pay attention. I don't really take notes because I just kind of let it sink all in. And then I think it gets reinforced when I start doing my work. But yeah, please tell us. I see a lot of visuals. That's awesome. Oh, more than, and yeah, that's okay to be more than one, right? So even Michael's saying multiple for reinforcement. So it all makes sense. And I'm sure that all of us use these types of learning types in different ways, right? Yeah. Sorry, David, I went on a rant there. Whenever you're ready.
Oh, no, you're good. So tips for visual learners. Here are some tips. I think the best tip would be, if you have a desk or a table you're working on, make sure it's a large surface area. So you can easily spread out your materials so that you can find everything nice and easy. maybe make some flashcards or images to help you study. And be sure to keep out only the most important and relevant papers so you avoid any distractions. And also, kind of like the image that you see here on the presentation, hang up a whiteboard because it's really easy just to mark off your day and get your to-do list right off the bat, and you know what you have to do. And at the end of the day, make sure you clear your workspace of all papers and materials, because cleaning the surface like this would be effective for visual learners, because the next time they see their desk, everything is going to be nice and clean and efficient for the next day. So if you are a listener, it's best to have a really good set of headphones. It makes sure that, yeah, me and John, we have these Apple earphones. I don't know if they're the best quality, but definitely invest in like a Bose or something like that. But yeah, use a recording app to record your voice as you study, because studies show that teaching someone is the best way to learn. So maybe record yourself and then listen to that and play it back so that you can get the most out of your studies. Also, listening to music at approximately 60 beats per minute. Studies have shown that listening to instrumental music with 60 beats per minute can help activate the parts of your brain responsible for learning. So if you're a listener, make sure to get some type of Spotify playlist going on that has a nice instrumental backdrop, and that'll definitely help you out. Okay, for our kinesthetic learners, I guess, you know, everyone says they're a type of learner, but like me, I said I was a visual learner, but I definitely take a trait from all types of learners. So for example, we've been working at home for quite some time, almost a year now, but I have these parallettes that I've made at Home Depot. And I, you know, every maybe hour or so, I'll do a set of push-ups just to get me going, get my blood flow going. So if you're a kinesthetic learner, definitely keep a clock at your desk just to make sure that you have time readily available so you know what time it is. Like me, maybe keep like an ab wheel or a roller right next to your desk, so every 30 minutes you can get up and do a few crunches. And most importantly, which I'm very thankful for HCVT, they provide, you know, a reimbursement for home office equipment, which I've used to get a standing desk. So every hour or so, I'll go ahead and stand, and it's really awesome because it's great for your back. And trust me, when you work those busy season hours, you're going to be wishing you had a standing desk. So I know a lot of places are kind of out of stock, but I'm sure you could find it at your local Costco. So here are a few other tips to help customize your workspace and improve your productivity. Just designate a space in your area, maybe, you know, your apartment, your campus even, to find a space where you know you'll get stuff done. No one can dictate how you want to see set your workspace but you. So just make it your own and make it your own space. Avoid slumping or slouching, like I said, because your back's going to thank you later. And create a distraction-free zone. So keep up your school spirit, because that's number one, and we love our CSUN students. So and also stay hydrated.
Alrighty, everyone. As David mentioned, you know, you want to set up your environment, but then another thing that a mindset rather is what's called the zone, also known as the flow and things of that nature. I mentioned it earlier during my fun fact, like I like to recenter myself. Sometimes that requires taking a step back and reassessing everything. Like David said, taking breaks here and there. So we want to know, how do you get in the zone? And for me personally, I feel like sometimes I can lose myself always just typing away and working on things. So sometimes to minimize like what I'm doing at the moment and to just focus and keep focusing is to always take a step back. I use a method that we're going to talk about later, where every like 30 minutes I do take a break and I, you know, readjust my eyes and do stuff like that. And it definitely helps me produce a higher work quality and all that stuff. So yeah, minimize distractions is very important, Michael. Thank you for letting us know that. Megan, do you have a method of getting into the zone?
It's funny, I was just going to drop this into the chat, but I'll save my fingers if you type or keystrokes. I guess I like to listen to a pump up song or some music to like really, you know, get my head in the zone. I did that before this presentation. So always good to, you know, have a quick little dance party, get psyched, and then, you know, log on to Zoom.
Definitely. What about you, David?
Yeah, I was listening to Dancing Queen before this, just to get me pumped up. And yeah, definitely, it's definitely useful for busy season and those long hours. You know, it's like 12 a.m. You're trying to get a return out. It's definitely needed.
Music definitely helps. And Megan, what is your pump up song?
I would say, I think I listened to Shake It Off by Taylor Swift. It's, so, you know, for me, a normal day includes a little bit of Taylor Swift, so.
Tay always makes the day better. I see that.
Exactly.
But now that song is going to be stuck in my head. It's so catchy.
Oh, my apologies for everyone on this call right now.
Thanks,
okay.
Megan.
I think we are ready for Lance.
Okay, so before transitioning to working from home, I know a lot of people had like this idea in their head of what working from home would be, sort of like a relaxed, you know, on the couch, comfortable, you know, sort of, no one would say it out loud, but sort of like a slacking off sort of environment. When talking about work from home, everybody wanted to work from home. That's what everybody's like, oh, someday I want a job I can work from home. The reality is when you start working from home long-term, you actually end up working more than you would have otherwise working from the office, because your work and your personal life start to blend together. So you can end up working around the clock, because if you work where you live, that means you live at work. So we're going to go over a few ways to try to combat that and keep that at bay. One way to avoid overworking is to set a schedule and stick to the schedule that you set. If you have designated blocks of time for working, eating, spending time with family, things like that, you're more likely to keep those things separate than if you just kind of wing it and you work until you get tired and say, okay, well, now I'll go take a break, or, oh, well, now I'll go get something to eat. Oh, I still have work to do. I should get back to work. If you have a schedule and a plan that you stick to, it can help keep you focused. Also, the shutdown and startup rituals. These kinds of things can have a physical and a psychological effect on you. When working from the office, commuting to work or school, commuting to work, commuting, you know, back home, your body and your mind go through a process of kind of getting prepared for arriving at work and beginning your workday, or leaving work behind you, literally driving away from work, leaving work behind you, and being prepared to arrive at home. So if you have a routine while working from home that can trigger these same effects, you can more easily flip that work mode switch in your head on and off. I like to pack a bag, the same bag that I would take to the office when working from the office. I still pack that same bag here at home and carry it with me from, you know, my bedroom or the kitchen, wherever it is, to my designated workspace. And at the end of the day, you know, I pack my things back up and I take the bag back and set it down, and it stays there until the next day when I'm ready to start working again. Okay, so a lot of these tools are ways of creating and enforcing boundaries, and boundaries are important and they go both ways. You want to set boundaries to keep work from interfering with your personal life and keep from working too many hours. But you also want to set boundaries to keep your personal life from affecting your ability to be productive at work. So having things like having a designated working area, setting that schedule to keep your work and personal tasks separated, using headphones. Not only does it help with learning, it can help with focus to drown out sounds. I like to use headphones sometimes if the neighbors are being loud, or if my dog's downstairs playing and he's barking a lot and I'm trying to focus on something. So I use headphones quite a bit. Keeping doors closed, telling your family, if you live with a lot of family members, when you are and aren't available, and keeping that door closed so they know, don't bother me right now, or don't walk in when the door is closed. These kinds of things can help keep your personal life from affecting your work and keep your work from consuming all of your personal hours. So you want to use time management tools that work for you. I like to use the to-do lists and time boxing. Those work best for me. They help keep me on track and keep me organized. I think maybe tied with music, those are the things that help keep me in the zone and focused. I have a notebook. I did this in the office as well, but it's even more important to do now that we're working from home. I keep a notebook in my drawer, and every day I open it up and have my to-do list and my schedule for the day. At the end of the day, I set up the one for the next day, so I have a schedule and to-do list already made, so that the next morning it's ready for me. Also, it's easy to feel when you're working from home, you start to feel isolated. It's kind of easy to forget that we work with other people sometimes. And collaboration is really, really important no matter what environment you're working in, but it's even more important when everyone's at home and you can go for large blocks of time without interacting with people. And collaborating with others can be the difference between getting something done in an hour and it taking all morning to complete. So collaborating is an effective time management tool that you need to keep in mind when you're working from home, and it's a lot easier when you're in an office or a classroom. You can just pop your head up and say, hey, can you give me a hand with this? Whereas when you're working from home, you have to remember, oh yeah, there are other people I can message or email. So one version of time boxing is called the Pomodoro Technique. I think that's how you pronounce it. I still don't know how to say that. This can help keep you from burning out and can help keep you focused. I think John mentioned he works for at least every 30 minutes. He says he takes a break. I like this technique because it uses timers, so you don't have to keep looking at the clock and saying, oh, how many minutes do I have left? Oh, is it almost break time? You set two timers, one for 25 minutes and one for 5 minutes. When you start the 25-minute timer, you begin working on something, and that's all you focus on. When that timer goes off, you start the 5-minute timer and you go and take a break. When the 5-minute timer is done, you get back to work, and you just keep alternating between working for your focused 25 minutes and break until your task is complete. Using the timers, like I said, it can keep your eyes off the clock and focused on your work, and taking those regular breaks can keep your mind fresh. And lastly, like I mentioned, when I was talking about collaboration, it's important to remember that even if you are isolated, you're not alone. So whether it's in person or online, whether it's friends, family, or coworkers, make sure that you are reaching out to people, that you're interacting with others, that you keep in contact. The longer you go without talking to other people, the more isolated you can feel and the more difficult it can be to remain productive.
Thank you so much, Lance. A lot of great information there. So again, we want to hear from everyone. Listening to all that, what do you think you can do to help improve your workspace, your mindset, everything that's going on? How can you improve your remote work since you're not in the classroom at the moment? And I know for sure, for me, it's definitely talking more, because I do not talk to a lot of people that often, except Megan. I bug her all the time, and it's great. And she always has to tell me, John, please leave me alone. But I don't. So take that, Megan.
Oh, please, John. We always enjoy catching up.
Jokes. But yeah, definitely great to, even though I think everyone kind of understands these things, it's always nice to hear them again and to really assess, like, gosh, this last week I've been doing it all wrong. So let me try to get back to the basics and improve, right, my remote work situation. Oh, thank you for that, Brianna. That's a very detailed answer. Oh, geez. Angel. Hey, Angel. Nice to see you're here. Yeah, gotta love timers too.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for participating in the chat. We appreciate it. And thank you Brianna, for those awesome app recommendations. Definitely something worth checking out there. So I do have a couple more slides before we open it up for a Q&A. And, since we are sort of wrapping up our recruiting season at CSUN this spring, we actually have one more event on the calendar, and that is the Alumni Panel, which is coming up next month on April 20th. So hopefully we will see you there. And I do have all of our contact information right here. At HCVT, we keep it really easy. It's just first name dot last name at hcvt.com. So feel free to jot these down so that you can reach out if you have any questions for us in the future. And we also do want to do a quick plug for our social media. We are on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. So feel free to check us out over there. We have a lot of great content that goes up about recruiting, as well as info about what's going on at the firm. Right now, I know we have some content about our meditation Mondays and yoga Thursdays, and how, all of that work goes into, making us less stressed out and more productive. So that's something I've been enjoying checking out. And then I just want to say thank you guys so much for taking the time to speak with us today. We are going to actually open it up for questions. We have about 30-ish minutes left. So we would love to hear from you guys. We have two great professionals here. John and I can answer any of your recruiting and training questions, but feel free to come off mute, write your questions into the chat, whatever you are most comfortable with, and we would love to answer them. Oh, and John, thanks for dropping those email addresses into the chat. I appreciate it too. So you can just grab them over there if you guys didn't get a chance to jot them down. Oh, Justin, I see your hand up. How's it going, Justin?
Hi, good. Thank you everyone for the presentation. I really appreciate those insights. So my question is about, what was one of the first things you had to adapt to when we went virtual? And looking back at it a year ago, how do you think you've changed or made yourself more flexible with that factor?
David, do you want to tackle that one first?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for that question, Justin. I would say the hardest thing to adjust to initially in the beginning was getting motivated to work, because like we talked about, you start working from home and you're just like, oh my gosh, this is everything I dreamed of. I get to sleep in my bed until 9 a.m., just pop in a meeting, and just straight from the bed to the office is only like a minute of a time interval. But then after a week of it being so glamorous, you get to realize it's not that it's boring being home, but you have things to do and you need to get stuff done. So you're not going to just keep slacking around and taking a 30-minute break for breakfast, 30-minute break for lunch. You're just going to get back to work. And it really only took about a week for me, but ever since that week in March, I've been in full, hard work mode, as all of our employees are. So I don't find it troublesome anymore to find motivation to work, because this is my job and I'm going to do it fully and I'm going to do it well. So you might think it's so amazing working from home, but at the end of the day, you're going to work. So work is work, but at least you get to do it in the comfort of your own home. You're like, why do I pay all this rent? Hey, I get to enjoy my living space. But so definitely that was the hardest struggle, but now everything's squared off. So.
Yeah, that's a great point, David. I've never spent more time in my apartment than the past year. I get to really enjoy it, for all the rent that we're paying. Right. Lance, do you have anything that you want to add on?
Yeah, I think for me, because I'd only been in the office for about 6 weeks before everyone transitioned to working from home, I was still going through a lot of training, and I was still, on the bottom of that learning curve and going full speed ahead. And like I was saying earlier, when you're in the office and you need help with something or you need a question answered, it's really easy to just look over to the person sitting next to you and say, hey, can you give me a hand with this? Or if you're on site at a client, if you're in audit, you're sitting right across the table with other professionals. you can get questions answered immediately. When you're working from home and you send someone an email or you send someone a message on Teams or Zoom, whatever platform you're using, you have no idea if they've read it or not. You have no idea if they're going to get back to you in the next 30 seconds or 30 minutes, or you might not hear from them until the next day. So having to adapt to that kind of environment was really difficult, especially when going through training. So I had to figure out you have to prioritize your time differently. Before, I would just have whatever work in front of me that I needed to, keep me busy for a certain amount of time. And then when that was over, get more work after that. And I had to transition to a situation where you kind of load down your schedule where you actually have more on your plate than what you can complete in a day, because you're going to run into roadblocks. You're going to run into stopping points on different projects where you can't get an answer, and you might have to switch from one to the other to stay productive throughout the day, in case you don't get a message back from someone until the next morning rather than the next 10 minutes. So that was a big change. It was a very strange thing to run into initially.
Thank you.
Megan, you might be able to shed some light too, because you started completely virtually. So how has it been for you?
Yeah. And I guess I was really concerned that I was not going to feel like I was like part of the team, or like that I was going to get to know the people that I was working with, or feel like I was like, could get a good read on the HCVT culture. And actually it's been like totally different from that. I've never worked a job remotely before. And to be honest, I never had any interest in working a job remotely. I like to be in the office. I think that's one of the most fun parts of work, is like having coworkers and, going out to lunch and things like that. So essentially one thing that we did on the recruiting team, and I think that groups sort of throughout the firm are figuring out like what works best for them for staying in touch with their team, and like how to stay in constant contact and things like that. But what we did on the recruiting team was we actually had a 15-minute stand-up meeting every day over the summer, like into the fall, essentially, where we would talk about something that wasn't work related. So it was like, we would play a game, or we would ask a question, or we would talk about our weekends, or like what we had eaten for dinner or something like that. But it was like every day we had those 15 minutes to essentially like have this water cooler talk time that as a result, I actually feel like I know my team now more, and like my managers more than I've like known managers that I've worked with in the past that have just never really taken much interest in like getting to know me or things like that. So it definitely is very weird to be like, oh yeah, like I know so much about my managers, they know so much about me, even though physically I haven't even met some of them in person yet. So it's very unusual. But hopefully in 2021, I'm keeping my fingers crossed that we'll all be able to sort of be in the same place at the same time. But definitely a bit of a unique experience there. Oh, and I see your hand up, Michael. Hey, Michael.
Yeah, I have a question. What do you think is going to happen when the pandemic is officially over? Is everybody going to go back to their offices, or it's going to stay kind of as a hybrid system? Some people are going to be working from home, and some work from office.
Yeah, so I can take that one. And essentially, I'll share what I know with you, which is very little. Okay. Essentially, we're all still working from home. That's essentially what the firm has decided is safest for us right now. So our offices are closed through the end of April, I believe, still. So as for what life is going to look like after COVID, there's a lot of discussions, at the partner level as to what it will be like. There have been discussions about more flexibility and, will we go to a hybrid model? I don't think we'll ever be fully remote. I just don't think that that's the nature of HCVT, or like what we want to give our staff and interns, the experience that we want to give them. But I do think there will probably be a little bit more flexibility in the future. That said, there's nothing really been set in stone as to what it's going to look like. We don't even really know when we're going back to the office as of right now. But there's definitely some discussions taking place with HR and the partners as to, how life is going to look like or what it will look like in the future. So unfortunately, nothing concrete set in stone right now, Michael, but definitely I think hopefully we'll have a better idea soon.
Yeah, I kind of wonder because just like Lance said, it was a little bit hard to work from home when you're a new person in the company. And even thinking about the future, I think that it's probably important for people to be together in one office. Well, at least maybe a couple of days a week on certain days.
Yeah, definitely. And to like, you want to be able to like make those relationships with people internally in the team and, you know, have those opportunities to get to know the managers and partners that you're working with. So it's definitely something that I know our internship, it's going to be virtual this year. But as for, you know, hopefully, you know, our 2022 staff will be able to start in person, assuming, you know, everything, the numbers keep going down and everything is looking positive. So hopefully it will be virtual internship. And then, you know, once you convert to staff, it will be a little bit more of a normal experience there.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah. Hi, Angel.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing great.
Good.
So my question is, do you ever listen to music while doing work?
Oh my gosh. It's funny that you say that because I think about this often. So I personally can't listen to music that has words in it if I am concentrating really hard. I don't know if anyone else has that experience. But there's a couple of cool Spotify playlists that have some like instrumental music, but I personally can't because I'll just start like singing along and then I'll be like typing the lyrics in the email that I'm writing and it's just like doesn't work for me. But yeah, I don't know about you guys, John, Lance and David, if that works for you guys.
I was just thinking that exact same thing. It depends on what I'm doing, and it depends on what the music is. If I'm trying to read a memo, or read an email, or I'm going through, you know, a really technical document and there's a song playing that has words in it, especially if it's a song that I like, I can't get through what I'm reading because I'm listening to the lyrics and stuff like that. If I'm not reading anything, then I can listen to music. But even then, like if I'm working on a long Excel schedule or something, I'll still try to stick to music that's more instrumental. But yeah, I go back and forth. Like half the day, my Spotify thing's paused or muted, and the other half the day, it's, you know, volumes all the way up, because it can also help with blocking out noise. You know, my neighbors are pretty noisy, and there's, you know, landscapers, and there's always noise going on. So sometimes it's very, very helpful, and sometimes it's another distraction.
What about you, David?
Yeah, I would have to say I agree with both Megan and Lance. If there's a task that requires my full focus, like I'll turn it off, or especially, yeah, even if it is instrumental music, I'll have to turn it off and really try to read what I'm going through. But if I know what I'm doing, and if I'm responding to an email or like, you know, going through some financials, but I know what I'm doing, I'll listen to music. It's not a problem.
I'm surprised I'm the only one that can listen to music and still work, because I can keep it on at all times and read and reply and whatnot. So interesting. Very, very interesting. Very interesting. Great question, Angel. What about you? Can you listen while you work?
Me? I would say it's kind of half and half. Like David said, if it requires my full attention, I'll probably turn off the music. But if it's something that I'm familiar with, I can do it with the music in the background. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, any other questions from the group? We're happy to talk about our musical preferences if people want to hear from that. Or feel free to write any questions that you have in the chat. We would love to answer them. But I guess while we wait, I'd love to ask Lance and David, how did you guys choose HCVT? How did you end up here?
I don't want to say that it was only because of overtime, but that was definitely, I mean, there are a lot of decisions that go into, you know, which firm you're going to go with. And a lot of it has to do with the individual benefits and perks at each firm, but also that thing that you can't put your finger on, just like the feeling that you get from talking to people at the firm. Once I came in and interviewed and talked to some of the partners and managers, I just got like a really, really good feeling, like a very comfortable feeling, and thought like this place would be a really good fit for me. And some of the other firms that I talked to, like they might have had great benefits, but then there were some other drawbacks, or they might have been really, really easy to talk to and like had a great vibe while I was in their office, but you know, their benefits weren't that great. So it's a balance. And at the end of the day, HCVT had the best balance of everything I was looking for.
Awesome. What about you, David?
So I knew someone who worked at HCVT, and they were telling me great things about the firm, and I just couldn't believe it. Because I had some prior experience at the Big Four doing some audit, and what she was telling me, I was like, I gotta go there now. She was telling me about all the food that they were getting, the massages they were receiving during busy season, you know, all the fun pool tables or, you know, ping pong tables, the massage chairs. I'm just like, what? That doesn't even sound remotely like an accounting firm. But I'll tell you, like, we work hard, and you know, any accounting firm you go to, you have a lot of work that you'll be doing, and it's vigorous and it's tough. So, you know, with HCVT, I've had a tremendous opportunity to learn from the best and the brightest. And, you know, being here, I've seen everything that they were telling me about. It's a very family knit culture, I would say, just because it's a little bit smaller than your typical Big Four. So everyone's friendly, everyone's willing to get to know you, open door policy. Like it's much harder to do that, I would say, at a Big Four. Just go straight up to the partner and just be like, hey, how's it going, John? Or something like that. But you could do that here at HCVT. So, and the massages still happen. Obviously, we're not in the office now, but every busy season, at least on the tax side, we had a masseuse come in, you know, twice a busy season, and we have 2 busy seasons a year. So, you know, that's 4 total massages that you can get for free. And I thought that was like really amazing, because like I said, your back starts hurting when you're sitting down for quite some time. But all the free food, that's great too. Yeah, just a lot of perks with HCVT, and like everyone has mentioned, the overtime pay doesn't hurt either. So
awesome. Thanks, David.
Megan, we got a question in the chat. So the internships, the virtual, right, were touched briefly. Do these remote work tips apply more towards a full-time position when you're up and running, or just as much toward an internship where you would think more of the learning process would take place? And if I may say something about the training before I pass it off to David and Lance, this definitely applies to any position. I think any firm, wherever you're going, these are more skills and tips for you to just be successful in general. Even if you're an intern or full-time staff anywhere, there's a huge learning curve for everyone. And I think that can be said for every level. You're always going to be learning and growing. And if you're not, then that means you're stuck in place, and you don't want that, right? And at HCVT, that's something we don't want. We don't want static movement. We want everyone to grow, because if you're successful, then, you know, in turn, we're successful. And plug for our training department, we offer so many trainings every year, from technical skills to Excel skills to soft skills, leadership, and all that good stuff. And we have all these other initiatives and things going on because we want you to develop your skills, become more self-aware, really understand how you can add to the team, because coming from different walks of life, that's how we're being more inclusive. Because I'm sure David can do 1,000 things better than I can do, but maybe I can do these things well. And then we collaborate and we work together and we complement each other. So that's a plug for the training department. But David and Lance, do you have anything to add when it comes to applying what they learned today to internship, full-time position, or maybe, you know, moving forward in their career?
Yeah, I would say they the tips apply to, a full-time position or an internship, or they also apply to being a student in school. They can apply to projects that you're taking on in your personal life if you're unemployed. I mean, a lot of the tips are more about getting you in the right headspace and helping you manage your time and prioritize the work that you need to get done, and keep everything organized. And then David's tips about the different types of learners, that applies to all different kinds of situations. So I'd say that these are just as applicable to an intern as a full-time staff.
And I guess I would add, it might seem like everything that we went over, like the remote working tips, are trivial, but I'll tell you, like, these small changes could have a huge impact on your life. Like, before I started, I never wrote down like a to-do list for my day. And, you try to keep all these thoughts in your head and you're just like, what was it that I have to do? And it really gets lost in your thoughts. So, write down everything you have to do for the day. And, I'm sure most of you do it already because you guys are very studious students. But just check off everything as you go. And even if it's something as small as like making lunch, even I make a box for that just to check it off, so I feel like I've done something and I've accomplished something, right? And it's like a snowball effect. It keeps the ball rolling. So you made lunch, okay, now you prepared that one return for the morning, okay, boom, there you go. And it's like a snowball effect. So other than that, I would say don't box yourself in as one type of learner, because like we've all discussed, we kind of take attributes from each type of learning. So for me, like, I like to read and that's how I learn well, but I also listen to music when I study or when I'm working. I also am a kinesthetic learner in a sense where like I'll do a set of push-ups and then get back to work, or I have a standing desk and I'll stand up every so often. So definitely don't box yourself in as one category or one type of learner, but take from all those different types of learning skills and utilize them to your fullest.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Those are super helpful tips to sort of show everyone how these remote work tips hopefully will apply to all different sort of points in your life. And then Angel had a question about VBA, which I think John answered in the chat. So thanks, John. He's our resident training expert there. So he can answer any of those questions. But anything else? We have about 7 minutes or so before we need to wrap up. But oh, Gabby, I see your hand. Hey, Gabby.
Hi, yes. You guys mentioned the Meditating Mondays earlier on in your presentation when we were speaking. What other initiatives does the firm have in place to keep employees connected since they are all working remotely?
Yeah, Lance and David, do you guys want to talk a little bit about like your teams and how you guys stay in touch?
Yeah, so in addition to Meditation Mondays, I'm sure Megan has spoke about this, but Yoga Thursdays, we also do that. So I've been participating in both the meditations and the yoga, and wow, like I'm a believer now. I'm definitely a believer of meditating. I'm definitely a believer of yoga, because I used to be all, strength conditioning, but like, yoga has been like a huge plus in my life. And I didn't just start from, a couple of weeks ago when we've implemented the program, but I've actually started as like a New Year's goal to add in yoga into my training. And I've been doing it since kind of like end of December. But yeah, Yoga Thursdays have been really great. The firm, it stinks because we're not in the office and the firm can't provide us food. But, every so often we have these deadlines. So a 3:15 deadline is pretty common in the tax world. So the firm has been nice enough to set up a corporate Grubhub account. So we get to order food on 3:15 for all the hard work that we've done. So that's a nice meal, even though that's very small compared to what we would get when we're in the office, 2 meals a day. But yeah, so other than that, like we have daily check-ins or weekly check-ins with our designated offices. So everyone just gets to see each other's face on Zoom and, get to know each other, or, especially with the new tax staff that have joined in January, it's really hard to like even approach them or have them approach us. So just to get to see them and say hi, that's also a nice added touch. So
Yeah, each office has their own kind of thing. But for the Encino audit team, I have a weekly check-in every Tuesday afternoon with one of the partners. She calls and asks, how was your weekend? What'd you have for lunch? How are you doing? Just, a general, check-in kind of thing. So I get to talk to one of the partners just on kind of a social level every Tuesday afternoon. Every other Thursday afternoon, the whole Encino audit team gets on a group call where we kind of do the same thing with both of the partners and all the staff that are in the office. Every Friday morning, just the staff are all in a group chat with one of the coordinators from HR doing something similar. So we're routinely, interacting in some kind of social way. And also, depending on which meeting it is, there's, some professional development stuff like, oh, what are you working on? Is there anything you'd help with? So multiple days a week, we're interacting with different groups of people and different teams. And then we have firm-wide things like the meditation Mondays and yoga Thursdays and stuff like that. We also have, I can't remember what it's called. We have a separate group chat, like a Teams channel that's more of a social thing, and it's firm-wide. And there are, questions that get thrown in there periodically. Oh, today's, what's your? I think today was for Pi Day. In preparation of 314, National Pie Day. It was, what's your favorite pie? So everyone had a big conversation this morning about their favorite pies. And so there's always, at different levels, whether it's firm-wide, office, team, there's always something going on. There's always a group chat or a call or a meeting or something to keep everyone in touch.
Thank you for sharing.
And it's more for our interns, if I could be big. Sorry, Megan, I cut you off.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
But yeah, so, and once you get started with our firm, you are assigned a buddy. So you have someone that you can always go to and feel like you have this connection with in the beginning around your level that can help you with your work. And for interns, on a weekly basis, the recruiting team actually meets with them and we would set something up, especially virtually, where we want to get to know them more. And we don't get to have as much fun with them as we used to, but that's something that is still going to be in the works. And we plan to do for this year and next year if we're still virtual, but hopefully next year we're live so we can, have these more fun activities in person. Sorry, Megan.
No, you're good. Thanks, John. Thanks for adding that in. Very true. We try to have a lot of fun, even though, we are in virtual setting. It's a little bit different. We can't do Disney, but, hopefully we'll play some fun games that are almost as fun as going to Disney. But we might have time for one more quick question, or if there's no more questions, I guess we could turn it back over to you, Gabby.
Yeah.
And Justin.
Yeah, all right. Well, I'm just going to read out the announcements and then we'll take a quick picture together. So here are the announcements, AA members. Tomorrow, March 9th, Goldman Sachs will present on being more proactive with career planning and recruiting from 5 to 6 p.m. Wednesday, March 10th, Cohen Resnick will be presenting on developing leadership skills from 12 to 1, so don't miss out. Don't forget to fill out your apparel form. It was sent out via the newsletter. If you have missed any of our meetings and would like to watch them, please check out our YouTube page where you'll find them there, along with this semester's spring podcast. Now, Gabby will take a group picture.
Yes, so if anyone would like to turn on their cameras, I will do a quick countdown. So, ready? 3, 2, 1. Okay, and there's a second page, so one more time, please. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Perfect. Well, thank you again, Megan and the team. This was very insightful and definitely helpful recommendations for everyone. So thank you.
Of course. Thank you, guys. Good luck this week on midterms. And yeah, enjoy spring break. You're almost there.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
All right. Thanks, guys, for having us.
Thank you. Bye.